Why most anglers struggle. Hey there, guys. Joe Simons, like Diamonds, here with Salt Strong, and we're talking about why so many inshore saltwater anglers are struggling, why they're not consistent, why they might be frustrated. And I know because that was Luke and I for many, many years as we really struggled moving from bass anglers here in Central Florida to trying out inshore saltwater fishing. We were trying to go for redfish and snook and trout and flounder, and we would have a couple epic days, and then it would be followed by like 3 or 4, sometimes 5, just really, really frustrating, sometimes skunk, sometimes just catching, a couple ladyfish or, catfish, puffers. And it can be really, really frustrating. And I believe, I want to apologize because I think we've done a bad job of making sure all of our viewers and even some of our insider members know the full picture. And let me just explain it with a story, of a real story that just happened. So we had a new member, been following us for a while, has been watching a lot of our videos, even buying some of our tackle, joins the Insider Club because of Smart Fishing Spots. And that's kind of where it ends. So he only thought the Insider Club was Smart Fishing Spots. And I'll just be right up front. If you're only joining because of an app to get spots, it's probably not going to work for you. And here's why. There are so many other facets after the spot. Yes, the 90-10 zone is the most critical. The spot is the most important by far. No amount of awesome bait or shiny lures or a 6-figure boat is going to help you catch fish in a dead zone. So you have to be in a 90-10 zone first and foremost. But if you don't have the right equipment, or you don't even have your lure or bait at the right depth for the right season, you're still not going to catch fish. And so here's what happened. This guy in particular joins a club and gets Smart Fishing Spots, logs into nothing else, doesn't look at the curriculum, doesn't join the community here that I'm looking at right now. And we have a whole curriculum, like a fishing school. All he does is just go to Smart Fishing Spots. So that's all he does. And he takes out a topwater lure. And this just happened here, like in the winter time. He took a topwater lure and a skinny lipper, which if you don't know the skinny lipper, it's kind of in between a topwater and a little bit of a diver. So both of these are going to be the very, very top of the surface, no matter what depth you're fishing in, right? It's never going to be on the bottom. And some of you already know where I'm going with this. Like, well, of course he's not going to catch fish. This is the first thing I said. It's like, of course you're going to catch fish. Using a topwater and a skinny lipper, I could put you in the best spot ever in your area where I can see fish. And you're probably not going to have much success in the middle of the winter with a topwater lure. And yet he canceled and said, oh, this thing doesn't work. And I think we're going to win this person back, because we actually spent a little time with them and basically did what I'm talking about with you now here. Is like, hey, there's a little bit more to the picture than just Smart Fishing Spots. You can't just go there and pretend that you're going to always have success if you're using more of a summertime or spring or fall lure. There's so much more that goes into it. Yes, 90-10 zone, most critical. You start there, but after that, you still need the education on what to use for that specific day, time, depending on the current, right? My in-laws are in Savannah, Georgia. I fished up there. I mean, that current's a whole lot different, and the tidal flow is night and day different than it is in Tampa Bay or in parts of Texas where I lived. So, I mean, all these areas have these nuances, and you can't just use the same lure in all places. So I want to just share that one and apologize, because we talk so much about the spots and even our ads, right? Let's just be blatantly honest here. Our ads feature and talk about Smart Fishing Spots because it is attractive, and it's the technology part is really, really, really cool. But you're not going to have true success and true consistency if you don't have all the other pieces, like going through this essentially full-on fishing school curriculum, depending on if you're beginner, intermediate, or advanced. You start there, and if you just went through this, you will know more than 99% of all the other anglers at this level. I mean, this is game-changing for inshore saltwater anglers. And I would urge you, if you're currently a member, do this. It's 35 minutes, each one of these, maybe 40. It is worth the time. It will save you years. This is like everything we wish was around when we were struggling. But guess what? The gentleman in particular who canceled and said, oh, this Salt Strong Club doesn't work, and all he did was get the app and go to the first spot that it highlighted. He never logged into this. He never logged into the community, never did all the other pieces. And here's another great real life story. So prior to this, Luke and I were in the financial services industry. And so we were dealing with financial advisors. And what was so funny is all the advisors, all they wanted, can you guess what they wanted? They didn't want hot stock picks or anything. They all wanted new prospects, right? And here's what they would literally say. And they would say it in one form or another, like, just put me in front of the hot prospect with money, I'll close them, right? Just give me that lead, essentially, right? They all wanted leads or prospects. It's what every financial advisor wanted. Every insurance agent wants the same. Guess what? Every real estate agent wants the same thing. Just give me that hot prospect and I'll close them. And sometimes they will. It'll be like giving you the hottest fishing spot in the area. Sometimes, yeah, it might all align and you might get lucky. Even with the topwater lure in the winter, you might have a trout or something that's just super hungry and it's right in front of its face. Yeah, you might get lucky. But what we found over the years of working with financial advisors is we knew what they wanted, which was the shiny lead. They wanted that hot prospect. But what most of them needed was some sales training and some marketing training and kind of a funnel to bring a new prospect into their ecosystem to eventually get them to become a client. And that's why so many financial advisors and insurance agents and even real estate agents go through so many leads and prospects before they finally close one, is most of them need a little bit more of the training and education. And the ones that were always at the top of our list in terms of the most clients and most business closed, guess what? They had gone through the training. They had read books. They'd gone to courses. They joined mastermind groups. They had a network like we have here in our Insider Club. I mean, it is night and day difference, and we got to see it on that world, and we're now seeing it in the fishing world. It's the same thing. The members who have gone through things like this, like our fishing school, and the members who are engaging and interactive here in the community and asking questions, they're the ones who are the most consistent and consistently catching fish, consistently putting, ouch, that hurts, consistently putting fishing reports up in here, etc. It's wild how much better and more consistent you can become when you don't just focus on the spot and end there. Once again, spot's critical. You have to have the good spot first. Smart fishing spots can certainly help you do that. I mean, that is what this is meant to do. But if you don't have the rest of the recipe, if you will, I'm telling you, you will continue to struggle. And if you only are joining our fishing club for smart fishing spots and won't do any of this other stuff, go through any of the courses that we give you, it's probably not going to work. You might get lucky and it might work a few times, but you're not truly going to be consistent, which is our goal, right? That's my goal. Every time I go out, whether it's by myself or with family or friends, I want to be on fish. And here's a couple other real life stories. So over the years, we fished with quite a few members, and they're on our boats. So we are picking the spot, and there's a couple in particular that I vividly remember. One, we were fishing a dock line. Okay, so we had a member, he had been struggling to catch fish, and we took him out on our boat. So this is an area we know is the hot bite. Like, we've done the research, we've done the planning, we know we are in a hot bite. And like in the third cast, Luke catches a fish. A couple casts later, I catch a nice flounder underneath this dock line. And then Luke catches like another snook. So like now we've caught 4 or 5 fish before this guy has caught any. He hadn't even gotten a strike yet. And so like you could tell he was getting a little bit nervous. He was already just kind of nervous just being out there with us. And now he's like ashamed essentially. And he's like, guys, all right, what are you doing? I'm literally on the same boat with you. What are you doing? And so we've been watching him. We said, all right, here's what you're doing wrong. And so once again, we got him in the spot. This is why it's not, it doesn't just end with the spot. The spot's the beginning. So one, it was the prawn. He had it rigged just slightly off, right? So that one, it was just doing a little bit helicoptering. It looked a little bit unnatural versus our prawns. We're all kind of covering an area. We weren't all casting in the exact same spot. We were spread out in the boat. So we're all hitting different parts of this dock. But we were giving him, he was up at front, giving him the best chance of it. And still he wasn't getting strikes. He had the right weight. So there's been some cases where you just don't have the right weight. For instance, in the wintertime, quick tip, you want to be at the bottom. These fish are at the bottom. They are doing their feeding at the bottom. You're going to get the most strikes at the bottom in the winter. Summer, it might be the opposite, right? Especially if you have a little bit of wind, that top layer is going to be a little bit more oxygenated than the bottom. So in the summertime, you're looking for areas with high DO2, with high areas of of oxygen, right? So it's a little bit different. But in this case, it was a little bit chillier, so we knew we wanted to be at the bottom. He had the right weight. However, it was his cadence, how he was retrieving. Maybe he was cold, nervous. I don't know. Doesn't matter. But he was reeling twice as fast as us. And if I wish we had it on tape so I could show you. But watching him, like we're doing a pop and then letting it sit, he was reeling consistently. He never stopped. So he was just constantly going. He was going fast. So because of that, let's just say that's the water column. Luke and I were popping off the bottom and letting it sit, and most of those strikes were happening on the drop or right when it popped up, that fish would come and attack if it was in its face. Whereas he was never even reaching the bottom. He was just kind of going like this, and so he never got any strikes. His lure essentially was going right over their heads, and a lot of times when fish are lethargic in the wintertime, they're still eating and they'll still strike something. They're predators. They will, if they get a free, easy meal in front of their face, they will strike it. But if it's over their heads, a lot of times they're not gonna run for it. And he saw that. So as soon as he started slowing down, we're like, all right, dude, make the cast, because he actually could cast okay. It wasn't a casting issue. So he could make the cast, let it sit. And so it changed, like it literally changed everything, because he used to just cast and he would start reeling. I was like, all right, let the whole thing sit for a couple seconds, like where it's uncomfortable, and then reel and pop and then stop. And guess what? He started catching fish and got his confidence up. And next thing you know, he caught a ton of fish. That it was a really, really, really fun day. We had another one. We were fishing up in an area, so I don't specifically call this person out because I believe this was out there on video. But we were fishing in an area a little bit further north of where we normally fish on the East Coast, an area like Savannah, Georgia, with a lot of current, and we were fishing a creek mouth. And so Luke and I were catching fish. There was a ton of trout, like nice size trout, 20 plus inches all day long, and we were catching nice trout. He wasn't catching anything at all, and it all went back to the same as the first guy. It was a rigging issue. Number one, so we were just using little jerk shads, like a slam shady jerk shad, Alabama leprechaun jerk shad, and the jerk shad was helicoptering big time. With that kind of current, you have to make sure that thing is going straight. Otherwise, it's going to look incredibly unnatural. So that was number one. Number two, it was an equipment issue. So had the right weight on this instance. He actually had the right weight, but one, it was helicoptering, and two, the equipment he was using, he basically had a really, really crazy stiff live bait rod. We were using, I don't know if it was TFO or if it was a slot machine. Doesn't really even matter, but it was definitely a rod that was meant to cast light lures like a little jerk shad. So we were out casting him. I don't know if it was 200%, but it was a massive, massive difference. So we gave him one of our rods, showed him exactly how to rig that jerk shad so that we're using like Haas Helix hooks so that it was right there in the middle. So when you skin hook that jerk shad to make it weedless, right? So it's not going to be picking up any weeds or getting stuck on any oysters, etc., that it's right there in the middle. His was way off to the side, which is why it was helicoptering. And as soon as we did that and gave him a rod where he could really whip that sucker out and got it to that money zone, right, we were catching all these trout, guess what? All of a sudden, he started catching trout. So it's just another example of putting someone right in the honey hole. I mean, putting him in an area that we were all catching really nice trout, and he was catching nothing. So I guess my challenge to you is if you're not catching fish, it's okay to blame the spot. But at some point, don't just blame the spot, because these are two examples where I was there and witnessed it, where the spot wasn't the problem. It was now the angler not having the right rigging or the right technique or the right cadence, the right retrieval, or sometimes it's even the weight, right? Like using a skinny lipper or the moonwalker, you just had the completely wrong lure and wrong setup to try to catch fish in that specific season. So I would challenge you, one, always question, hey, am I in a good spot? Am I in the feeding zone? And smart fishing spots can certainly help you out with that. But after that, you still need the education, right? Don't be like the insurance agent or the real estate person that just burning through a billion prospects to finally get one. Because that's like a fisherman going to every spot on all smart fishing spots, thousands of spots, and finally catching that one fish. No, at some point, It's not the spot, it's not the app, it's not the system. At some point we have to look, because once again, we did this for the longest time. We'd start blaming the spots, and all these spots stink and they're overfished, and we had every excuse possible. And at some point we started saying, all right, well, maybe we should just become better. Maybe we should have a network, right? Maybe we should make sure that we're rigging this stuff right. Maybe we should do a little bit more studying. And I would urge you, once again, if you're not a member, join today and get Smart Fishing Spots. Certainly a game changer, but also go through this fishing school. I mean, you will be more consistent, and that struggle bus will go away faster than anything if you just go through this. And guess what? For like the beginner module, we don't have you start with lures. I personally don't think a beginner should be buying our lures. I don't think a beginner should be investing in jerk shads and stuff that they might not be able to rig. Go out and build some confidence with shrimp or with any type of bait, with cut bait. It could be frozen shrimp from Publix for all that I care. At least get that confidence. Find out where the fish are, how to set the hook, how to tie knots, all that beginner stuff that I think it's becoming overlooked, sadly, because of social media, right? A new angler gets on social media and they say everyone's catching all these big fish and they're using these lures. Like, yeah, that will happen, and it can happen really, really fast. But start off small. Start off making sure that you know how to find the fish. That you even know how to set the hook, how to cast, how to retrieve, how to tie great knots, how to even rig a live shrimp or a frozen shrimp. I would personally start there. Start at bridges. Start at causeways and docks before you want to go out there and try to catch a redfish by skipping a lure underneath a mangrove line. I mean, that does take a little bit of time. The final piece is the network that I want to share with you. And, it pains me that we have so many members, and the good news is the majority of our members are in here and are very active. And look, this is a great one. You can learn so much. This is a report here just a couple hours ago from Dan in Hilton Head, South Carolina. Look at that. Any of you guys live up in the Carolinas, or even up in Jacksonville, you know what this is. I mean, that's so cool. You can see the result. But you can go through here and you can break it out by your region if you want to. I love seeing what everyone's catching, but you could break it out by your region, and you will learn so much about what's biting, where they're biting, what tide they're hitting on, what lures or bait that's working. This is so powerful. And when Luke and I were back in the old business, and even right now, I'm still part of a mastermind group where I'm around other entrepreneurs who are constantly just trying to learn off each other. And yes, there is a company behind it, just like Salt Strong is a company. But the irony is I get the most value not from what that company teaches me, right? Like, let's just say they have a Smart Fishing Spots app, right? They have a lot of really cool tools and I get a ton of value from it. But the biggest breakthrough ideas I've had have been being around the other entrepreneurs that are shared just that one little tidbit of, hey, you might want to try this, or here's what happened in our business. Like, oh, wow, that's awesome. I'm going to do that. So I would encourage you to get in here. We've interviewed a lot of people on the podcast over the last 4 or 5 years. And what's funny is every one of them, C. Richardson brought it up, Peter Deeks brought it up, a lot of the tournament anglers we've had have brought it up, big captain Mike Anderson brought it up. And I'm talking about the power of a network, the power of having a group of anglers who are willing to share, right? And where you can ask questions and get quick answers. It is incredibly powerful. And if you're not using this, you're missing out on one of the most important pieces of becoming a consistent angler. I mean, this guy Thomas here, he crushes it. All land-based, by the way. So this club is not just for people that have boats or kayaks, all land-based. And this guy's catching fish every single week, trying out new spots, all land-based. And he absolutely crushes it. And if you just follow this guy alone, you will learn so much more about picking the right spot and even the right time of day to go fishing in your area on land. So you can see, so much value. And I'm just scrolling through the last ones. This is just in the past the past 12 hours here of the new reports that have gone up. So please use this network. That's community.saltstrong.com. It's only for our insider members. And if you're not a member, join us today. And I think to summarize this up, the spot is critical. Smart fishing spots is critical. The technology part is critical. You will not catch fish in a dead zone. So let's be abundantly clear. But at some point, we can't just blame the spot. We also have to look at, hey, am I using the right rig, or I'm using even the right rod in that one example I share with you? And do I have the right lure? Do I have the right jig head? Is my bait, or whatever it is, hitting the bottom, right? Just like if you have live bait, and if you're using white bait and a bunch of current and it's sitting at the top helicoptering, you are not going to catch fish no matter how hard you try, even if you're in the absolute best spot. Right? I mean, if you have current ripping and you have a live bait rigged on just a hook alone with no weight and you have current, it is going to sit there at the top unless you have like the biggest, hardiest pinfish ever that might dive to the bottom and get close. You're not going to catch any fish. So all this is critical. And we have courses. We have a whole master library on top of this curriculum. This is the quickest and easiest thing to go through, but we have an entire curriculum in the course section. Let me just click this for you so you know where to find it. Let me go to the main dashboard. We'll do this live while we're recording so you can see where this is. And if you go down here to my courses, hopefully that worked. Yep, there it is. These are all the different courses, and all these little mini courses, regardless of your level, you have all these too. These are critical ones, but all these little mini courses here are all yours. Every member, regardless of what level you are, gets all those. And I believe like canal fishing, some of these ones we've thrown in, how to fish docks with lures. I mean, there are so many fishing inshore structure, how to use fish finders. This is the 101 and 102. All these are available for you as an insider member. The GPS-based fishing plan, flounder tactics, that was a great one. Even boat maintenance, things that, and we talk about kayak maintenance as well, but a lot of people had asked about that, so we put a whole course together from Captain Peter Deeks, who probably puts more miles on his trailer than most, because he doesn't go to the same place over and over again. He's traveling up and down the whole state of Florida, really. Trophy redfish tactics. I mean, every one of these is available for you. The kayak fishing mini course, the lure tactics and retrieve, and that's a critical one. If you were having issues getting strikes with lures but thought you might be in a good spot, go through that one. So once again, this education is critical. Offshore, nearshore fishing spots. That was good one with Captain Dylan Hubbard. Nearshore summer snapper, that was a really popular one. We got a paddle tail masterclass. It keeps going on and on and on. I'm only halfway done with this. So it just keeps going and going and going and going. Really, really powerful. We went on Ned Rig. That was a cool one here for winter time. So anyhow, this is all for you guys, you Insider members. And if you're currently a member, go and spend a little time, especially if you have one of those, weekends or an evening where the weather's bad and you can't go fishing. This is critical to go in here and check this out. It'll be so well worth it. Everyone who does it is just like, wow, I had no idea all this was here. I wish I would have gone through this earlier. So don't be that person that continues to be on the struggle bus and is not consistent and hasn't tried this. Now, if you've gone through all this and you're still struggling, call us. Like something else is wrong. That's being overlooked. But if you're still struggling, you haven't been through all these little mini courses or any specific one that you need help with, there's one for sheep's head, then go through those and then get in the community and ask questions, right? That is the best place, is to go right here and ask questions. You have tons of different members who are willing to help you out, who a lot of times have been in your shoes and have summertime beach fishing, that's a good one, triple tail, black drum formula, and they will be willing to help you. So hope this is helpful. Just wanted to bring this up because it just happened here, and we hate losing members, especially over something like that, right? Because he was just blaming the spot. He was mad about, the smart spots doesn't work, and the irony is it wasn't the spot, it was him using the completely wrong lures, and he realized that. I think he's going to come around and probably rejoin again, which is good, but golly, there is so much to it, and I know it can be frustrating and maybe even overwhelming at times. So if that's the case for you, then start right here. Well, I already went off of it, but start with the fishing school. And if you're a beginner, start there. If you're intermediate, if you don't know where you are, if you're in the middle, start with beginner and go through that. It'll be well worth your time. And then when you have questions, go in here in the community and ask them, right? Nice. Little snook here this morning. Yeah, go through the community and ask them. And of course, we have live calls every Thursday as well. So if you're still not getting your answers, join us live. And if you can't join us live, on that live call, shoot us the question in advance, and we will answer it, and then you can watch the recording and get your answer. Even if it's a specific spot, a lot of times we'll get on maps and dissect a spot and then show you the second part is here's how you would fish it. Here's how you position your wading boots if you're from shore. Here's how you position your kayak or your boat. Here's what lure or tackle to use, etc. So you have all this at your fingertips. And of course, this is for Insider members only, so you do need to join us. And it's only $9.97 a month, and that's cheaper than a topwater lure every month. And we're giving you free tackle every month too. If you haven't joined the Tackle Tester program, good news is you're automatically enrolled if you're an active member. Make sure to be looking for an email from us. It's around the 15th of every month. We send out an email and usually a text too, so make sure to be on the text list saying, hey, limited time only. We have 4,000 packs or whatever this is for you to test out of this lure. Get them while you can completely for free and just report back on how it works. So join us in the club today if you're not. If you are, start going through this. There is a recipe there, and it's not just smart fishing spots. I said that's where I want to apologize because I think we put so much focus on that, assuming that people are doing the other things, and many aren't, is what we're finding. So make sure to not just focus on smart fishing spots. Go through the entire process. Go through the fishing school. Get in the community. Ask questions. Look what other people are catching around you. It will massively increase your chances of becoming consistent and getting off of that struggle bus. So if you have any questions, go in the community, ask them, community.saltstrong.com. Otherwise, go to saltstrong.com and sign up for the club. You'll be glad you did.